By now, you will have knit the cuff of your mitten. Now remember, I like my cuff to be able to be folded over, so I made mine a little deep so that I have a nice, look at this, I love this part, bit where I can just put it on, and that's about as deep as I like my cuff to be. I like that feeling. The reason I'm having you stop at the cuff is because that is when you're going to make your decision about what sort of thumb you want. Essentially, I want you to look at your hand, okay? You are making the plain little tube that I showed you earlier, okay? So that's fine. That tube goes right to the top of your hand. The problem is that your thumb, your opposable thumb, kind of juts out away from your hand. There are two ways that you can make sort of a little mini mitten just for your thumb. One begins just after the ribbing. It's called a gusseted thumb. And what that means is you start adding stitches just as you're going around, nothing scary, and you add stitches to accommodate this part of your thumb. Then when you get to where the crook is between your hand and the thumb, you stop, put those stitches on a holder, and knit all the way back up. And don't worry, I'm going to show you how to make a gusseted thumb. But there are a couple points on those that I want you to note. The first is your gusseted thumb, the gusset can come either out of the exact side. Look at this. I've made a little funny thumb mitt to show you what I'm talking about. It can come out straight from the side of your mitten. Okay. Again, it's just an increase. The positive point about this is that if you're making mittens for children, it's a great idea to actually make 3 mittens. And if the thumb is coming out directly from the side, there isn't a clear left or right mitten. And what happens is over time, of course, the person's hand just stretches the nice, lovely fabric and it begins to mold. But if the child loses a mitten, there's an extra non-dominant mitten available to replace it. If you're making a mitten for an adult, having the gusset come more from right about here in the hand fits the thumb a little bit better. Kind of like if you think of it like this, okay, opposable. That is a bit more like this. There's nothing, there's not a right or wrong. It's the same work, the same sort of increase. It's just that you put the increase in different places, okay? And let me just show you a couple of those. Normally, here's a wonderful fingerless mitt, and see how this is an example of the thumb coming out of more like the center of your palm, okay? Here is a fingerless mitt where it's coming out of the side. Not really a big difference, just depends on your personal preference. Now, the other thumb is called an afterthought thumb. And the reason I wanted you to stop again at the ribbing is an afterthought thumb is actually knitting all the way around and doing your mitten until, this is for me, let's say, so I folded it over, until you've reached the point of this gulf here, this notch. Then I'm going to show you how to put some holding yarn in there, hold that spot, and you continue on up the mitten and finish it, and then go back and pick those stitches up and make the thumb. When this comes in handy is more traditional mittens where you have a pattern that you either want to completely replicate, which sometimes happens so that this thumb would have disappeared in the background, or you want to put a different sort of little tiny pattern. In which case you continue, you can see, you continue around and around. Person has knit the cuff, has gone round, 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 put some holding stitches here, continued on up the mitten, okay, finished it, then went back and put the thumb in and worked the color pattern. And that is why you would want to have an afterthought thumb. So I'm going to be showing you how to do a gusset thumb or an afterthought. All you have to do is decide which one you want And if you want a gusset, then the ribbing is perfect. We'll get started on that next. If you want to do an afterthought thumb, you need to continue on knitting in stockinette stitch until, again, this is what's so great about knitting with a magic loop. Try your mitten on until you've reached that little V, and that's when it's time to add the afterthought thumb, and you can come look at that video. So decide which sort of thumb you want, if you want to do a gusseted, or if you want to do an afterthought. Watch my video for whichever thumb you want to do, and let's continue on with your mittens.